Who do you have as the number 3 quarterback? This is where things get interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, this is where you debate Rodgers and Lamar Jackson for me. Those would be my 2 debates for number 3. And in this one, I'm going Jackson. He was the reigning MVP last year, and he was obviously electric. What he could do, he just seemed like the next evolution to what peak Michael Vick was. It seemed like, oh, this is what Lamar can be and more potentially. The question for Lamar, and it's just going to be, I think it's going to be something that he has to deal with until he actually does it, is how sustainable is this throughout a season and going into the postseason. He ended up 27th in pass attempts, and he was actually about middle of the pack when it came to bad throw rates and on-target rates. So, he may be the best wide receiver to ever play quarterback, but the bad throw rates and the on-target rates aren't as high for somebody who doesn't throw as many passes as, say, a Mahomes, a Wilson, a Rodgers. And I just think if he's going to go up against Mahomes and Watson for the next 10 years in that AFC, he's going to have to be able to make 15 great throws in the playoffs. And you've seen in his 2 playoff games now, it's still a small sample size relative to how good he is in the regular season. But in 2 playoff games, his completion percentage has gone down to 50%. So why is it that his completion percentage has gone down? In both those games, he's had to play from behind. And I don't know how sustainable this offense is when the Ravens are playing from behind and they can't run the ball and play at their tempo. And so when he's forced to make more throws, it's proven that he's less accurate throughout a game. So I still rank him 3, but I understand if Rodgers as a quarterback is ranked at 3. It's just back and forth. I go with Lamar just because of how, peak Lamar last year was fantastic to watch. And I do think in that system, he's going to be very good.
Lamar Jackson was also my number 3 on my board. First off, the best wide receiver to ever play quarterback is Jay Cutler, and don't you ever forget it. However, I think that I actually think you did a little bit of a weird thing where you picked him number 3, but then talked about a lot of negatives. I actually think the playoff performances are a bit overblown, and I think it's kind of a small sample size. There was a lot of fluky things that happened, especially in that Titans game, that weren't really necessarily his fault. He's kind of similar to what prime Cam Newton was, not in the sense that I know that they're different style runners, but just in the sense that you can't just use traditional quarterback statistics to talk about them, because so much of what they do is what they do with the running game. And he's so electric in the running game. And quite frankly, anytime you can lead the league in touchdowns while still throwing only 6 interceptions, and that's just passing, not even counting his rushing touchdowns, he was, at one point, he was just unstoppable. You just couldn't find a way to stop him. Yes, I don't believe that he could be an MVP just as a thrower, but he doesn't have to be. He can get it done through the running game. I mean, he threw 3 more touchdowns than Winston while throwing 24 less interceptions. So just a remarkable job by him.